Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start by giving Violet and Gabby from Decibels another round of applause. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Sue Wilkinson and I'm the Chief Executive here at the City of Darebin. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and the custodians of the land in which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, as well as to elders from other communities who may be with us here today. A big welcome to everybody who's here tonight, especially councillors and their families and friends, all the wonderful members of the Darebin community in attendance, and also the many staff from the City of Darebin who've taken the time to attend too. I have a number of apologies which have been received for tonight's meeting, which I intend to read out. These are Kat Theophanous, MP, Jenny Mikakos, MP, Colin Brooks, MP, Jed Carney, MP, Fiona Patton, MP, Nazir Alasma, MP, Colin Brooks, MP, Dr Samantha Ratnam, MLC, and Craig Ondarchi, MP. I'd like now to invite Uncle Ron Jones, representing the Wurundjeri people, to commence the proceedings. Please make Uncle Ron welcome.
I thought I'd bring the clap sticks, but first of all, thank you very much for giving me that clap and that. You shouldn't have done it, really. Look, Woman Joker Kundi Bik. Could I get everyone to say Woman Joker? Come on, do better than that. It's a celebration tonight. So we don't know when the lucky people might be mayor, but I reckon the gold chain, they should throw it away and put the possum skin on. So, you know, because our people have been wearing it for over 60,000 years and that only come here 200 years ago, so, or it might have been 190 years ago. So look, I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that may be here, past and present, but all elders that are here tonight that are sitting here, because we're all elders of our community. And I thought I'd bring along this tremendous man, and I think if he was around today, he'd be the best mayor that Melbourne would ever see. So this tremendous man, and I point him and his spirit to look over you people here tonight, to protect us, and to make sure that you do a good job for all the citizens of Moreland. So this is my great-great-granduncle, William Barrick. So this tremendous man here, he looked after Corranderk, he looked after their people. And if you have a look closely at his beard, a lot of people probably can't see it, but he still has a question mark over Aboriginal people today. So his spirit tells me, if you can see that question mark there. So look, I'm very, special to this area and Darebin. They've been very, very passionate to Aboriginal cause and their people, and, you know, for what they do with Aboriginal people in this area. And you have a lot of history within this area, with Aboriginal history. And my mother and grandmother and that were born at Corranderk Aboriginal Mission Station. And William Barrick, he was like the mayor up there. He was the Narangeti. He was the head man that looked after Corranderk. And the way he looked after his people and he fought for his people, it was fantastic. And the stories that Mum used to tell me about Corranderk, but later on you realise it was a terrible place. It was a concentration camp. Our people weren't allowed to learn their culture. They weren't allowed to learn their language. If they got caught by the other elders learning their things, they got into trouble. They'd have their rations cut and everything. And they had no freedom. They had to get what you call dog passes back in them days. So they had to seek permission to leave Corranderk to go and visit their relatives down at Lake Tyers or Moonacalla, wherever it was. So, you know, but our people that were born on them mission stations, they got on with life. And when they left the mission stations and they found out really what racism was, they could turn their cheek the other way. And if we could go back and look at them elders that suffered that type of upbringing back in their younger days, we'd have a beautiful world today. Because it's about sharing, caring and looking after each other. And I've been involved with that new Victoria Market, how they want to do the upgrade and everything on the Victoria Market. We've been working with them for the last 3 years. Because what they want to do, they want to go in and put a car park underneath the market there. And within that market, a lot of people don't realise there's over 7,500 graves in that Victoria Market today. Right, so out of that 7,500 graves, there's about 350 Aboriginal graves, and one of the graves is William Barrick's son, David. And while we've been working there, and we've saved that they're not going to come in and build that car park there, no. And then I had one young chap that was on the working committee. He said, why are you worried? You're only worried about the Aboriginal community here. I said, no, we're here representing the Chinese, the Asians, the Jews. We're here for everyone that's buried here. That's their resting ground, and it's the way it should be. And actually, I was doing a welcome the other night. This chap came up to me. He was about in his late 80s, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm glad I come here and listen to this welcome tonight." He said, "Because I've got an auntie that's there." So what's happening? A lot of people now are going to Melbourne City Council to find out because they didn't realise that they have ancestors in there. And this young chap, he said, "But, you know, I can't understand why you even bothered." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You don't even look Aboriginal." I said, "I've taken offence to that." And I said, "You know the reason why I don't?" He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I was born in the daytime and my grandmother and that they were born in the night time." Right? He said, "You fair dinkum?" I said, "No, that's a part of my Dreamtime story." So he was drinking a cup of coffee, and I said, "Now, what's the colour of that coffee you're drinking?" And he didn't want to say it. I said, "Look, you already offended me. What colour is it?" And he said, "Oh, it's black." I said, "Now, you've got milk in it, haven't you?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Now, what colour is it?" He says, "It's white." I said, "Well, always when you pour out that cup of coffee or tea, next time always think you could be sitting next to an Aboriginal person, you mightn't even know it." So, you know, I just love talking about our history. We ask people to come along the journey and think about our history and join our history because it's such a beautiful, caring and sharing history. And, you know, I just love talking about it. I can talk all about it all night, so we won't even let the mayor get elected tonight. We'll just keep talking about it, you know. But like I say, it's a beautiful history. And my mother and that, what happened, when Corranderk was shut up, they were sent up to Cummeragunja. So what happened, two of my grandmother's brothers were sent down to Lake Tyers because they thought they were full blood. So what they did, they split the full bloods and the half castes. They were sent down to Lake Tyers, and they couldn't tell the difference back in them days, who was full blood and who was half caste. So we have a big family connection at Lake Tyers, the Wandering family group down there. So, you know, and then what happened, when my mum and that went to Cummeragunja, like mum was about 4-year-old when she got sent to Cummeragunja. And then when they had the walk-off, like with Cooper and Doug Nichols and all them fantastic people, a lot of them settled around Preston here, Northcote, West Melbourne and North Melbourne. That's why we say you have a big history of Aboriginal people that settled around the Preston area and Reservoir area and that. So, you know, I think this area has been real good, and I think we should give the mayors and future councillors a big clap for going to support us in the next 12 months, whatever your elections are, I don't know. Because our politics is different. Aboriginal politics, if they play up, you get the clipsticks out, you whack them on the head. So remember that. So, you know, they don't do what you want to do, just say, "Hey, we're going to get Uncle Ron to come back here and clap you on the head." So look, enjoy tonight. I'd love to stay longer, but I've had a long day today. Wominjeka again, to welcome to Wurundjeri, and keep safe while you're on Wurundjeri country. And thanks for having me. Thank you. And Darebin Council, thanks.
Thank you, Uncle Ron. So, moving on to the agenda, I think there are copies of the agenda for the members of the community on seats, if you want to follow along. So, item 1, councillors, the membership of this meeting is as printed in the agenda. Item 2, apologies. I have one apology from Councillor Greco for noting. Item 3, councillors, are there any conflicts of interest? There are none. Item 4.1. 4.1 is the address by the outgoing Mayor, and it gives me great pleasure now to invite Councillor Rennie to approach the lectern to reflect on her time as Mayor over the last 12 months.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you particularly to Uncle Ron for that warm welcome. Nyama, Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Gulyin, Guinganinu Bik Wenuap Darebin Nyariana Nyanga Bik Ban Ba Nyagu, Gagukal Nangit Bambu Thielingbu Ba Gamaji. I acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people on whose land Darebin Council stands. I recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture, and to pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. And perhaps it's been one of the highlights of my year that the Wurundjeri Council has given me permission to make that acknowledgement in Woiwurrung, something that I've introduced to Council and something I'm incredibly proud of. I would like to thank my fellow councillors for the year that we've had. I would like to thank our extraordinary CEO, Sue Wilkinson, the general managers, and particularly outgoing General Manager Cathy Henderson, who I wish all the very best in the role that she's about to take up as CEO of Moreland City Council. and of course all the staff at Darebin, because the work that we've achieved, some of which, a small part of which I'm about to talk about, would not have been possible without everything that you've done. One of the defining features of our council term and of the year that we've just had has been our strong response to the climate emergency. The last year has seen over 600 new solar installations on roofs across Darebin. It's seen us embark on a journey towards a power partnership agreement, which has pulled together more than half the councils in Victoria who have engaged to pull their energy supplies together so that we can generate new clean energy. I'd particularly like to acknowledge the work of Councillor Kim Lassurf, who's really driven much of that focus, and I think it's particularly a credit to your knowledge and commitment that we find ourselves there. But beyond that, we recognise that environment starts locally, and we have a new open space strategy, Breathing Space, which recognises the importance of our natural environment. We've also in the last year, for the first time, put in place a tree protection local law, because every tree, every significant tree is precious and we need so many more of them. I'd like to thank Councillor Trent McCarthy particularly for his commitment to the natural environment, for his leadership, particularly with the Darebin Nature Trust, but also on key strategy pieces like Breathing Space and the tree protection local law. And of course this year a key focus has been waste and recycling. Not once but twice we've had to deal with the failure of Victoria's recycling systems. And I'm proud that this council, which was caught up, was one of the first to be able to re-establish a new recycling service. We've also just introduced a food waste to the green bin, and that's been incredibly well received by our community. We know that when food waste goes to landfill, it's a significant source of emissions. So if we're serious about becoming a zero emissions community, we need to get that food waste out of landfill, and that's what we're doing. And our greatest champion perhaps on food and recycling has been Councillor Lena Messina, who's taken that leadership beyond just Darebin Council to other councils around the state through her role as the chair of the Metropolitan Waste Forum. Responding to the climate emergency is a small part of what we do. There is so much more. And in particular, planning in infrastructure is a huge part of the work of this council, particularly in the context of growth in which we find ourselves. This has undoubtedly been the year of bridges. We've built 3 cycling bridges this year, Rathcown Street, Dundas Street, and one that's nearing completion at Beavers Road. And one of the greatest champions of this work has been Councillor Steph Amir, who's been a committed member of the Darebin Bicycle Advisory Committee and has really spoken up for the needs of people who want to get about on their bikes, which we see as a huge future for transport in our municipality. So thank you, Steph, for that commitment. There's been a number of infrastructure projects in relation to sporting infrastructure, the Bill Lawry Pavilion, the J.E. Moore Pavilion and the Edwards Lake Park Athletics Track. And also this year has seen the opening of our very first Changing Places facility. This is a toilet facility to give dignity and access to the most vulnerable people in our community, those with profound disabilities. Our facility was about the 101st in Victoria, so it tells you there are not many of these facilities, and it's an important step to have one in Darebin and one of a number yet to come. And I'd like to particularly acknowledge the extent to which Councillor Julie Williams has been a real champion in this space, speaking up for those who aren't always able to speak up for themselves and continually emphasising the importance of doing this work and making sure that there'll be more work in this space in the future. We are positioning for a future of growth in Darebin, and I think one of the important parts of that is to actually look at the quality of growth. So I'm really delighted that this year has also, for the first time in Darebin's history, seen the appointment of a city architect, which is really to drive quality and excellence in the development that we see. Darebin continues with its strong commitment to equity and social justice, and the past year has seen new projects emerge of which we're all very proud. A partnership with Kids Undercover to deliver housing to young people leaving care, and a project that's underway to look at the air rights above a car park in Town Hall Avenue and to get housing built for people on low incomes. There is no doubt that there is no greater champion on this council for affordable housing than Councillor Tim Lawrence. I know that it's been a passion of his for decades, and his advocacy has been tireless, and for that I thank you very much, Tim. One of the other highlights of the year I'd like to talk about has been the Schools Yarning Conference. This is an award-winning program, and being at the Heart Awards, which are reconciliation awards, and seeing our project and the work of our staff be acknowledged with the winning award on that day was quite extraordinary. This year we held our second Schools Yarning Conference, and it's an opportunity for grade 5 students. I think I'm getting the wrap-up look. To learn more about Aboriginal culture. We've seen the establishment of the Welcoming Cities Reference Group, which is a credit to Councillor Gaetano Greco, who's been a real champion in this space. We were the first council in the world to commit to the Darlington Statement on Intersex Human Rights, another first for this council and a way in which we demonstrate leadership. And we've signed a new statement of commitment to traditional owners and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and seen our first Nulu Nunyan celebration, Everyone's Voice, in which we've demonstrated a way that we can have an inclusive community. And for much of that work and her ongoing commitment in that space, I thank Councillor Suzanne Newton. This has been a team effort, and I think we've demonstrated that by working together we can achieve quite extraordinary things. I thank my colleagues for that, and very importantly, I thank staff who have the tough task of keeping up with an ambitious council agenda, and you're rising to that task every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rennie. On behalf of councillors, staff and the community, I'd like to thank you for your leadership of the council over the past year. Please accept these gifts as a token of our appreciation. And if we could please have another round of applause for a fantastic year service. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Councillor Newton to approach the lectern to reflect on her time as Deputy Mayor over the last 12 months.
Good evening, everyone. I'd also like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge that this land was stolen and never ceded. Thank you to Uncle Ron Jones for the welcome to country, and I'd also like to acknowledge Charles Parkner and the 3KND radio staff in the room tonight. Thank you for being here and for always being here. It's been another big year for Darebin. I'd really first like to acknowledge the role of Councillor Rennie, who's been our Mayor for the last 12 months, in leading the council through this year, the third in our time together on council. Councillor Rennie has been an incredible leader. I think she's one of the best in the country, and it's been an honour to work with her over the last year and over the last 3 years. I really appreciate Councillor Rennie's calm manner, her confidence and her determination to keep council moving in the right direction that we've set for ourselves. I've learned so much being deputy to Councillor Susan Rennie, and I could not have asked for a better mayor to be a deputy to. I've also appreciated the support of the other councillors. Councillor Steph Amir and I worked together on the Sexuality, Sex and Gender Diversity Committee, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done with the Trans and Gender Diverse Swim Nights, and also being the first in the world just last week to affirm the Darlington Statement in support of intersex people and their human rights. I've really appreciated the support of Kim and Trent and their work on the climate emergency, the purchase power agreement, and just being so strong on the environment every single day. Councillor Messina, your work on graffiti, I think has been incredible. So every time we talk about that, every time we talk about new developments, Councillor Messina says, can we put some art up there? Can we avoid graffiti? And I think she's played a huge role in beautifying our city. So thank you, Councillor Messina. I work with Councillor Williams on the Disability Advisory Committee, and I'd really echo Councillor Rennie's words about how strong you are in that area, and I see your passion for it at every meeting. And I think it's particularly having lived experience of a disability through your family, and I just see it. I see it every time I work with you, how proud you are and how passionate you are about that community. So thank you for that. Councillor Lawrence, I am so impressed by your recent work on inclusionary zoning with the Labor Party. I think that's something that could have a huge difference on our community. I also echo the words of Councillor Rennie that affordable housing is a true passion of Councillor Lawrence's, and that if we can get that through on things like the Preston Market, on other big developments, it's going to mean that everyone can afford to live in our city. Councillor Greco, who isn't here tonight, he and I are both ward councillors for Latrobe Ward up in Reservoir, and I just wanted to acknowledge we had a development recently where there was going to be a new development, and there was someone who had a son with autism living behind, and I wanted to acknowledge how hard Councillor Greco pushed to have a meeting with the developers and find an outcome that would work for that family and the developers. Council has completed its third year in its council plan. It's a 4-year roadmap to demonstrate our commitment to working with all our community on social and environmental issues while delivering the community infrastructure that's long been neglected in Darebin. It transforms how council organises itself to deliver for residents and businesses. I'm proud of the work we've done so far, and there's a long way to go. We're leading the way in responding to the climate emergency. We continue to deliver the groundbreaking Solar Savers program, which assists households who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford solar power to reduce their reliance on polluting brown coal. It's a tribute to this program that the state government has begun something similar. I'm proud of us being a brave council that makes bold decisions, and I'm also proud of us not being afraid to respond and act when we get clear feedback from our residents. And I will make note of the parking strategy, where we went out pretty hard on that one, got a lot of feedback, and we decided to pull back from that one. And I think being a responsive council is something that we can be very proud of. Other proof of what we're working on is the game-changing open space strategy and Ruthven Park in Latrobe Ward, and I'd like to particularly thank the Darebin Nature Trust for pushing us in the right direction. As Councillor Rennie mentioned, our first Changing Places facility in Preston will make it easier for people with high needs to spend time doing the things that they love. I'd like to thank our incredible staff who make this city the best place to live and help our residents every day. We're on the right path under the leadership of the CEO, Sue Wilkinson, and her team. I'd like to particularly acknowledge our general managers, Sam, Rachel, Ingrid, and of course Kathy, our outgoing general manager who's off to be the CEO of Moreland. I was at Kathy's farewell last Friday, and I just really felt in that room that I think we're really doing something right. I could really feel the love in the room, and we're going to miss Kathy so much. We really thank you for her time at Darebin. I also see quite a lot of staff in the room, so I can see comms people, I can see hall keepers, we've got arts and culture, gender, we've got equity and diversity, and I wanted to thank all of you for all the work that you do every day to make this city the wonderful place that it is. I'm sure that Council is much better placed now to meet the challenges ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newton. On behalf of the councillor, staff and the whole of the community, thank you for your service and your leadership over the last 12 months. Again, please accept this gift as a token of our appreciation. Thank you. Thank you. Just returning to the agenda, councillors, moving on to item 4.3, the election of the Mayor. Tonight, in accordance with Council's governance local law, I will conduct the election for the office of Mayor for the period through to the 24th of October 2020. Before I call for nominations, I'll outline the procedures for the nomination and election of the Mayor. Firstly, I'll call for nominations. Any councillor that is present tonight is able to nominate any councillor for the office of Mayor, or councillors can nominate themselves. No seconder is required for a nomination. I will confirm with each of the nominees that they're willing to accept the nomination, because that seems sensible. And then once the nominees are received and I move to the election, no further nominations can be made. Should only one councillor be nominated for the position of Mayor, I will declare that councillor to have been elected. If there is more than one nomination received, a vote will be taken to elect one of the candidates. If this is required, voting will be undertaken by a show of hands for each nominee as I read out their name. If a candidate receives a majority of votes, a majority being the votes cast by a majority of the councillors present tonight, I will declare that councillor elected as mayor. So, councillors, are there any nominations for the election for the office of mayor? Councillor Messina.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Susan Rennie.
Thank you, Councillor Messina. Councillor Rennie, would you accept the nomination?
I do.
Councillors, are there further nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Julie Williams.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, do you accept the nomination?
Okay. Yes.
Councillors, are there further nominations? Okay, so there being 2 nominations, I'll put that to the vote. Oh, sorry. Oh, thanks. I did that again last year. Sorry. For those of you who weren't here last year, I forgot this bit last year as well. Okay, so given that we have more than one nomination, I'll invite each of the nominees to give a 2-minute presentation. I'll start with Councillor Rennie. Councillor, you're more than welcome to stay seated. You have 2 minutes to present.
Thank you. I'd particularly like to thank Councillor Messina for nominating me. And I would welcome the opportunity to be the mayor for a second year. I believe that over the last 12 months, I've demonstrated exemplary leadership both within council and beyond council. And in particular, I've worked hard to build the reputation of Darebin City Council with stakeholders in our local community and in state government and beyond. I've set a very high standard of governance for this organisation. I've set high expectations, and I believe this council has risen to the task and demonstrated that extraordinary leadership which has enabled us to get so much done. But we have a year left on our council plan and this term of council. I'd like to ensure that the following year is as productive as the past year has been, and I think I'm the best person to carry that task forward. I'd ask for your ongoing support. Thank you.
Councillor Williams, I'd like to invite you 2 minutes, please.
I'm standing for this role because the City of Darebin needs somebody with experience and stability. We need to come together at this point. I will be that mayor that reflects what this community values. As the mayor, I will listen to the people of this community, including the annoying ones, because they too are a part of this community. The community wants to see less confrontation, less extremist type of leadership, and more consensus-based. I want to show the community that they feel that this council is not against the community, and that we need to have a change of our mindset, and that the leadership needs to change, and the style of leadership needs to change around that. I want to show that this council is not at war with sections of our community, and that we are not alienating certain sections and residents from other cities of this community also. I want to be a mayor that doesn't play political games and doesn't divide and want to conquer because they enjoy the power of being the mayor. I will ensure that the whole of the community is included and nobody is left behind, because the people of this community is the heart of Darebin, like our cold community, the carers, the elderly, the disabled, and our volunteers. I will show that the whole of the community, that a long-standing councillor will give the community stability.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll now move to the vote. To cast a vote for Councillor Rennie, please raise your hand. That is 6 votes. To cast a vote for Councillor Williams, please raise your hand. That is 2 votes. Thank you, councillors. It's now my honour to declare Councillor Rennie has been elected as the Mayor of the City of Darebin. Congratulations. Councillors, I'll now move to item 4.4 of the agenda. As you know, Councillors' Governance Local Law makes provision for the election of a Deputy Mayor, but that is subject to a Council resolution. Do I have a mover for the recommendation printed in the agenda? Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lasserf. Is that to be opposed? No, I'll move straight to the vote. All those in favour? That motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 4.5, the election of the Deputy Mayor. That follows the same procedure as the election for the election of the Mayor. So I'll get straight into it. Councillors, are there any nominations for the office of Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I nominate Councillor Julie Williams.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Councillors, are there any other nominations? Councillor Lasserf, thank you.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Suzanne Newton.
Thank you. Councillor Newton, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillors, are there to be any other nominations? No? Okay. Well, I'll invite both of the candidates for the position of Deputy Mayor to address the councillors, starting with Councillor Williams. Councillor, you have 2 minutes.
I guess as Deputy Mayor, I'd be supporting the Mayor in its role and obviously including the whole of the community once again, and in trying to ensure that we work as a team, particularly leading up to our last year together. It's important that we work together not only as councillors but with our community and all of the community as a whole. It's important that our community groups and reference groups, that we all work with each other and that we progress obviously as far as possible that we can, and that we continue to grow and obviously go forward in making new situations that we put ourselves in, that we go way beyond and that we achieve those for our community.
Thank you. Councillor Newton, 2 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Lasserf, for your nomination. Fellow councillors, I've loved every minute of being Deputy Mayor over the last year and humbly ask you to put your faith in me as Deputy Mayor in our 4th and final year of the current council. In 3 years, we've distinguished ourselves as the most progressive council in Victoria, if not the country, reflecting the community we serve in the most left-leaning seat in Australia, the federal seat of Cooper. Each of us brings passion, dedication and commitment to make Darebin a better place and to serve our community to the best of our ability. I want to continue to work with all of you on the issues that brought you here and that drive you, that combined make us such a strong team. Mayor Rennie's commitment to reducing gambling harm, Councillor Mears' commitment to ensuring the LGBTIQ plus community are thriving, safe and happy, Councillor McCarthy's ongoing commitment to the climate emergency, Councillor Lasserf's bold work as Mayor with the Change the Date Declaration, Councillor Messina's strong commitment to waste and recycling and banning single-use plastics, Councillor Greco's firm commitment to supporting diverse communities and older people in Darebin, Councillor Lawrence's work towards inclusionary zoning and affordable housing, and Councillor Williams' dedication to supporting people with disabilities. If elected Deputy Mayor, I want to work with all of you, our staff and our community, to continue to deliver on our commitments and to support our Mayor, to continue to represent our city so well for another year. In our final year this term, I know things can get heated and challenges will arise as we lead up to the next council elections in October. I promise to work to the best of my ability to support the Mayor and councillors to have the best year that we can and to work as calmly and effectively as possible as we lead up to the farewell of some of the best councillors this city has ever seen and welcome a new councillor team in October.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll now move to the vote. To cast a vote for Councillor Williams, please raise your hand. Thank you. That is 3 votes. To cast a vote for Councillor Newton, please raise your hand. Thank you. That is 5 votes. Thank you, councillors. It's now my honour to declare Councillor Newton has been elected Deputy Mayor. Congratulations. Councillors, I'll now move on to item 4.6, which is the address by the Mayor, the newly elected Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and also councillors responding. So I'd like to firstly invite the newly elected Mayor to approach the lectern to address the council. Thank you, Councillor Rennie. You have 2 minutes.
Why did you say that looking at me like
I didn't mean anything by it.
I would like to begin by thanking my colleagues for placing their confidence in me once again to lead this council. And I make a commitment that I will work hard and I will work inclusively with everybody. The coming year is our final year on this term of council. We're now well into our council plan, but we are ambitious to see it completed, to make sure that all of our bold actions are realised and that the community sees the benefits. Projects that are coming up include the level crossing and removal project in Preston. This is a transformational project. There will be some disruption, but the outcome will be quite extraordinary, and Preston in the future will not be the Preston that we know today. We will continue to respond to the climate emergency. In 10 days' time or so, we'll mark the 3rd year anniversary since Darebin Council was the first to declare a climate emergency, and that was a motion moved by Councillor Trent McCarthy. The word of the year this year, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is climate emergency. How far have we come that a concept that was barely known has now been declared the word of the year? I'm very much looking forward to the year ahead. I'm particularly looking forward to working with my colleague, Councillor Suzanne Newton, as Deputy. Suzanne has been an absolutely outstanding Deputy and support to me over the past year. I look forward to building on that relationship. We'll make a very dynamic team. We will work inclusively with everyone to deliver for our community over the next 12 months.
Thank you. Councillor Newton, as the incoming newly elected Deputy Mayor, would you like to address the gallery?
Thank you, Sue. 3 years ago, we became the first city in the world to declare a climate emergency and take the urgent action needed to address the crisis that will so greatly affect our residents into the future. Just 3 years later, over 1,100 jurisdictions have declared a climate emergency, including the UK and Wales. Hundreds of thousands marched in Treasury Gardens, and the devastating bushfires in New South Wales last week show us clearly there's no time to wait. We're in a state of emergency, and this informs everything we do as a city. Doubling solar power, moving to renewable energy, saving 7,000 tonnes of carbon emissions a year through converting food leftovers into compost via green bin, and making Indigenous bushland character the default choice for our parks and gardens, ensuring we have more tree canopy and shade and everyone has access to open space near their homes. We've shown what can be done at council level and are doing all we can, but we can't do this alone. We need other levels of government to follow and to work with us on this threat to our existence. Darebin residents know the existential threat we're facing and are making changes to adapt. Yet our federal leaders knowingly put their head in the sand, denying what's in front of us. In America, the 45th president is pulling out of the Paris Agreement, veering the world further off course. If only there were more governments like Darebin, female-led for the 4th year in a row, concerned about the future of our residents and the world and taking all the action we can to reduce the devastating effects of the emergency while we can. We know that the effects of the climate emergency will disproportionately affect those who are already finding it tough. Older people, those on lower incomes, the young, and that future councils will have to deal with more extreme weather effects and the impacts of growing populations as people are forced to move. The work we've done so far and will continue to do on making Darebin an age-friendly city, ensuring more sustainable, quality and affordable housing is built, making it as easy as possible to get around by foot, bike or public transport and making the city safer for all residents, all fits under our goal of addressing the climate emergency.
10 seconds.
My hope for the year ahead and for the Darebin councils ahead and for the generations ahead is that the crisis is mitigated as much as possible and we take the action necessary for the earth to remain habitable. I hope that Darebin councils continue to show what's possible, to show other governments what's possible, and for communities in Victoria, Australia and beyond to demand their elected leaders address this crisis and throw out leaders that don't. The time is now. We need every level of government worldwide acting as Darebin is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I'd now like to invite any other councillor who wishes to provide a short response to the addresses by the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor. I thought I might run down in alphabetical order. That's nice and democratic. Councillor Amir.
Do we need to turn these on? Oh. Thank you. I'm really excited to see Councillor Susan Rennie re-elected as Mayor. She's been such a wonderful Mayor in the last year, and from the very beginning of our council term, I've admired her courage, particularly in telling the truth even when it's something that might be hard to hear, and speaking up for people who need support, and also a real focus on collaboration, both within the councillor group and working with people across the community and with staff as well. Councillor Rennie is someone I've learned a lot from in the last 3 years, and I sometimes try to be more like her with her patience and her generosity in the way that she engages with everyone. I'm really proud of the work we've done over the last 3 years, and I'm excited that we're on track to be delivering such strong outcomes, particularly around the climate emergency and social justice, and really proud of the breadth of work we've done from the real day-to-day business. I often mention childhood vaccinations is something that we're really good at in Darebin, is something that's very important to me, public health, all the way through to some of those things that have got international media, like the climate emergency movement, our support of the LGBTIQ community, and the decisions made around Australia Day earlier in our term. There will be challenges ahead as we head towards the election, and competition for ideas and the values that are most important to people become more heightened than ever. So I hope that as a group of 9 we can stay focused on finishing what we started, not get too distracted by things on the side, and get that council plan done. Very briefly, I'm probably running out of time, I want to say a huge thank you to Sue, her team, all 1,300 staff. We could not do this without you. Our success is due to your very, very hard work, often late into the night, looking at people who work late into the night. So a huge thanks for the work you've done, and in advance of the busy year to come.
Thank you. Councillor Surf.
Well, it's always a danger speaking after Councillor Amir, because she always says everything that I want to, but I'll give it a go. I wanted to congratulate Mayor Rennie on the last year. There were a couple of things that Councillor Amir touched on that I think really stood out for me, and one of them was her courage and bravery, particularly around the values that she holds and making sure that she stays true to those values. And having those difficult conversations, because she and the councillor group really value a team effort and collaboration, and making sure that we build on each other's ideas, we have robust debate, and we do it in a respectful way. And that's also something that's really important to me. I also want to congratulate her for her calmness. It's something that can be very difficult from time to time as we face challenging situations and difficult issues that we have to deal with each and every day and week. And her approach is to be solutions and future focused, looking to work through the issues collaboratively with us to get the best outcome for our community, and I thank her for that. Councillor Rennie and Councillor Newton both spoke passionately about the climate emergency, and it is something that I am very passionate about, and I think that this leadership team in this last year is the right leadership team to continue Darebin's leadership in this space. We know that it is the most important issue of our time, and it's crashing against things like population growth and the growing inequality, and exacerbating those things as well. And so I think that Darebin, moving forward, needs to continue to be leading in this space to show what is possible in the face of this massive crisis, and to lead the local government sector and to lead the response to show that that while it is a challenge, there is a positive future for us all.
Thank you. Councillor Lawrence.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate, first to acknowledge Uncle Ron's contribution today, which I'm not going to count how many mayors or CEOs I've seen and welcomed or farewelled here, but when members of the Wurundjeri people come here and give their insights into their long links, tens of thousands of years of this land, it puts into perspective the next 12 months where we're being kind of almost tourists. But in fact, we aren't being tourists here because the City of Darebin is a policy incubator for Victoria. And we are because our residents demand from us a more mature form of local government, one with aged services, one with staunch advocacy for our diverse communities, and meaningful and long consultation with our Indigenous First Nations people. So I'm looking forward to the coming year. I would like to acknowledge the innovation of the outgoing Mayor of speaking in language every meeting, because that's what Darebin's about, where we learn each other's languages. And one of the first ones, of course, is the First Nations language here. And when you learn those sounds, you let an ancient culture resonate in you. And it is a transformational experience. I've had the pleasure of going down to Djab Wurrung and invited in to work there. And first thing they say is leave whitefella politics at the gate. And it is a transformational experience Australia's still got to embark on, actually reaching a treaty and reconciliation. And I know that this city will be at the forefront of that. I'm looking forward to next year. Obviously, as was mentioned, mandatory inclusionary zoning may come in at a state level. It has been advocated by this councillor with Councillor McCarthy and other councillors for 10 years. So it's making a change. The level crossing for 10 years, it's happening. Solar Savers is being used as a statewide model. So I'd really like to remind residents that the ideas you bring to us and what we fight for term after term actually has a huge impact. So, and that's certainly a privilege to be in another year of that.
Thank you. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Sue. I'd like to congratulate both our re-elected Mayor and Deputy Mayor, and obviously thank them for their wonderful service over the past 12 months, where they have been across the 3 Rs in the most significant way. And when I say the 3 Rs, I'm not just referring to the rates, roads and rubbish that people tend to assume is what local government is about. Anyone here in this room probably knows that there are 100 services that this council delivers, and you need to be across a lot of things, and you need to understand the nuances. But the 3 Rs in our context are a little bit different, because here, when it comes to rates, the first of those 3, we use our rates to put solar on 4,000 homes and businesses, including and particularly the most vulnerable low-income households who otherwise would not be able to afford or even be able to access that. When it comes to the second, which is the roads, we are literally putting recycled tyres into our roads, turning old tyres into new roads. And when it comes to rubbish, you've heard already that we're getting food waste out of landfill, and our Mayor and our Deputy Mayor have championed these causes along with other councillors over the past 12 months, and I'm sure they'll continue to have a strong focus on those 3 Rs. But there are other Rs that they will focus on, like renewables, like continuing to tell our story about leading 48 councils around Victoria to shift 55% of local government power to renewable energy, which is fantastic. And risk management, how do we keep our community safe? These 2 councillors understand that, and there are so many more. I won't go through all the Rs, but I just want to recognise the qualities very quickly of both our Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Both of them have demonstrated their ability to eyeball a minister and speak truth to power on an issue that might be affecting our community or communities beyond our borders. They've been able to engage with young people and older residents, with our most vulnerable residents, on a capacity of being equal, and I think that egalitarian nature is absolutely critical. that we've heard a lot about some of the challenges ahead, but there are others. We are a council, and our Mayor and Deputy Mayor have championed our positions in terms of a positive and progressive reform of aged care, taking on the pokies industry, and of course seeing sustainable development that it has upset some quarters for some vested interests, and yet our Mayor and Deputy Mayor have carried themselves along the way with absolute integrity and have commanded the respect of people across the political spectrum. So I congratulate you both, and I look forward to your leadership across the next 12 months.
Thank you. Councillor Messina.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. I've got recoverables and risk management as an R. Thank you. 3 years ago, there were 60 candidates, 3 wards and 1 municipality. 9 councillors were elected, and I'm so proud that this team have become progressive, and so proud that we've stand on issues such as social justice. There are many areas that we've championed, and I'm so proud of the aged care Darebin Friendly Review, the advocacy with the level crossing removal, the advocacy for Preston Market, and our creative culture and economic development team. And what a team, and I know we've got lots of leaders and lots of office staff here, and not only our GMs and our CEO, thank you. We've done things together, and I think that's important to note. The evolution of our residents is from cradle to grave. We provide those services. So when somebody says our service is about rubbish rates and roads, I say rubbish to that because it goes beyond there. They're forgetting about recreation. They're forgetting about the basics. I think I want to congratulate Councillor Rennie and Councillor Newton. A leader the process of electing a council is an evolutionary process, and a leader is an evolutionary process where they actually deal with what's inside the person to get the best out of the person. And that is also a process where we empower each other, where we take the best of what this municipality want and need and demand. And I think Councillor Rennie and Councillor Newton, you've done that. We also have done that with Councillor Lasserve, so I need to bring that to the attention forefront as well, because we all learn from each other, and that's what makes Darebin Council progressive, dynamic, and breaking those boundaries. And we do eyeball people in the street, ministers in the street, and say, what are you doing about that? So I'm very proud to say that together we have made progress, together we have moved mountains, and together we will deliver what the council plan and what this community want. So I want to congratulate Councillor Rennie and Councillor, I nearly said Lasserve there. Sorry, Councillor Newton. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Wow, it doesn't leave much left, does it? I just want to say thank you and congratulations to you both for the past year. I also want to particularly say to the Mayor that you've been definitely a huge advocate regarding particularly anti-gambling, which is something I guess nobody's mentioned along here. They've mentioned everything else, especially climate emergency. And you've had those hard conversations, and we know that we've had some really challenging issues this year. But I definitely admire, and it's what's been a real breath of fresh air is, I guess, as Tim mentioned, was that your opening ceremonies of any meeting that we have or events, especially speaking in another language, which is not an easy task, as Councillor Lawrence has already mentioned in depth. So I definitely admire that, and I do look forward to hearing that for the next year also. So I want to wish you both all the best for the future, and I hope that it's a smoother, obviously, the second year for the both of you, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. So that brings us to the end of the formal proceedings. On behalf of the staff councillors, I'd like to just reflect what an honour it is to serve not only the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, but also all of the councillors and this community. 1,300 people in this organisation take pride in being a servant of the public. It isn't something that we shy away from. And I can say that every single member of staff gets out of bed every day to try to deliver amazing things for this community and for this council. But we rely on your leadership, and we're grateful for it. So we're looking forward to the year ahead. I'd also like to say thank you to all of the staff involved in putting the proceedings together today. As always, Things run very smoothly because of significant effort by a lot of people. In particular, I want to say thank you to the team from Council Business, the governance team, and also in my office, the cracking team in my office, and Steve Mann as well. And just finally, to say thank you to 3KND who are broadcasting once again from over there in the corner. We love 3KND. We love the fact that you come to our events and we're really grateful. So a big shout out to your listening community, first time caller, long time listener. And please feel free to come back. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. This is a really important night for council, for your council. It's really great to see so many people here. Please join us for some fellowship and some refreshments and have a lovely evening. Good night.